everybody, and welcome to Nerd Wars. We are live, and I'm here in Tampa, Florida. You guys are wherever you are, and I'm so happy to have some amazing guests as we nerd war again for you with some awesome nerd topics. Today's big battle: who wrecked Star Wars, Kennedy or Lucas? Now, I saw some comments already that are like, "Of course it's Kathleen Kennedy. What are you talking about, Andy?" People forget that we hated Lucas for a long time between the special editions, the prequels. There's a lot of hate on both sides here. And so it's time to really bring it all together and figure out who actually wrecked Star Wars. I hear a salacious crumb. We're going to get to it. So you guys will be able to get involved in the chats. You'll see down there's some rules. I got to edit that because there should be. As you'll see, there's some rules down below that I'm cutting off. They're going to appear in 1 second. But that's how you guys can get involved. You guys can add fights to the show. Whatever you guys want to do, you guys support it. So thank you so much for your support watching. Let's get to this. I'm so excited. Next to me, Shannon. Welcome, Shannon.
Hey, it's good to be back.
Yeah, you've been back. You and Adan had the same opinion, so you're going to be helping to check the facts on everything. Sound good?
Yeah, but it turns out I have the unpopular opinion tonight.
Ooh, yeah. Well, we'll save it. Don't reveal your, because in case I need you to judge, I don't want to know where you stand. We have to be partial judges. All right, let's meet our fighters. Coming up, first up in studio, we got Adan Rodriguiz. Welcome back, Adan.
Yo, always a pleasure to be here.
Always good to have you, Adan. You will be on Team Bravo. And I'm so excited to introduce, we're going to try and do more of these as we can, but our first fan fighter, what? Chris Walker. Welcome to the show, Chris.
What's going on, guys? Looking forward to this.
Yeah, you were a fan, correct? You've watched me for a while. You've been wanting to get on. You were one of the donors on Hugging the Cactus. You are here. You got yourself in. You've been you've become a nice friend for me. We've worked on some stuff, so thank you for stepping up and be there, Chris. You excited to be here?
I'm very excited to be here. I've been looking forward to this. I got some opinions.
Love it. And you got the shirt, so you're a Star Wars nut. We're going to get to it. All right, here's who you guys will be assisting on your teams. First up, on Team Alpha, Chris will be assisting Vito. What up, Vito?
How's it going? I'm excited to be here. Long-time fan, first-time combatant.
Yeah, welcome, man.
I'm ready to get into it.
Yeah, well, my favorite thing I've learned of you recently is when you drank the bathwater of what's her name again? I keep forgetting. Belle
Delphine.
Belle Delphine.
I didn't drink it.
You vaped it. Sorry. Yes. Much funnier. You vaped it.
I took her essence and I put it inside me and made it a part of me.
And you still survived.
You're here.
And now I feel like a part of her lives with me every day now.
Were you trying to Dr. Sleep her?
Was I trying to do what to her?
Dr. Sleep.
Dr. Sleep her.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Her
yeah,
essence.
Trying to Dr. Sleep all up inside that lead.
Do you think Bella might show up in the fight today?
I think I might channel a bit of her essence. I mean, she's with me constantly, so
looking forward to it.
She peeks through. I'll channel that into my rage.
All right. Well, next to you, I'm happy to have him, my buddy Lewis Lecca from Nerd Report. Welcome, Lewis.
How you doing, guys?
I'm happy to have
How's
you,
everything
Lewis.
going? I'm ready. I'm a Salacious Crumbs right here. He's feeding me some advice. He's gonna be like my Mickey. I'm Rocky. So he's gonna be. You guys are gonna get wrecked. That's it.
I feel like that's an unfair advantage.
Unfair, yeah. It does seem a little unfair, Lewis. You got a special Star Wars character, but we'll allow it since it's fake.
Yeah. What he gets a tap in here.
You have the bathwater.
Yeah, but that's a George Lucas character.
Sounds like you both have the essence of somebody helping you out, so I think it's more than fair.
That's
true.
Know,
so...
I'm gonna put him down right now because he kind of like he smells a little and stuff. But here you go. I don't know how.
Ew, what have you done to him, Lewis?
I don't want to know.
What if I what?
Don't.
He smells a little. What are you doing? He's just a puppet.
What are you doing with these?
Yeah.
Hanging
Are
out
you vaping it?
Leave it to the comments to figure out what he did.
Oh, gross. All right, well, let's get to this. I'm excited. Here's your whole team. Here's your lineup. That looks cool. I'm going to fix a couple of these things. I don't know why it always changes, but welcome. So we got Team Alpha. They will be fighting, Vito, correct me if I'm wrong, but you are fighting saying that Kathleen Kennedy is the true wrecker of Star Wars. Is that fair to say?
She is the grand architect of disaster. That is correct.
The grand architect of disaster. Okay, so Team Alpha is against Kennedy, and then we have Team Bravo. You will be against George Lucas. You think George Lucas is the original destroyer of Star Wars, correct?
Oh, absolutely.
I personally do. Go ahead.
No, you. I'll let you take that show here. Go ahead.
Hey, listen. The wreckage of Star Wars started back in 1983 in The Empire Strikes Back when the original creators, the people who got together for the original films, all dismantled. They all went their way. But, you know, we're going to be talking about that. The wreckage started back with Lucas. I'm sorry.
All right, well, I'm excited to hear this. Shannon, you'll be helping me judge and fact check as we do this.
I got my phone.
Excited to have another opinion. And you guys in the comments will as well. We'll be doing votes throughout the show. So let's get to this. Let's bring it out. Let's get to war. Team Alpha, let's start it out. Why did Kathleen Kennedy wreck Star Wars? Go ahead.
Well, I mean, there's a lot going on here. I mean, Star Wars, obviously, I will give some credit to Team Bravo's position. Of course, Lucas had damaged the brand with the prequel trilogy, which I think most people would agree did not live up to the spirit of Star Wars. However, those prequels did not damage the core Star Wars characters that we all loved. Luke Skywalker, Han Solo, Princess Leia. You know, these were the true characters that mattered. Darth Vader's lineage was maybe a little tarnished. We learned he was kind of a wimpy weirdo who hated sand. But the real important, you know, core of the series was undamaged. It didn't damage the original trilogy, I would say. The original trilogy was not really, you know, ruined in any way. But now we have these sequel trilogy, which, you know, Kathleen Kennedy has overseen. And these classic characters, this Luke Skywalker, who, you know, one of the greatest heroes of all time, he's been relegated to a grumpy old man who has a heart attack because he makes himself a ghost too hard. You know, Han Solo, the roguish pilot who, you know, has this fantastic arc of I don't trust anyone, and by the end of it he learns to love. Then he regresses back into himself. He forgets, you know, he becomes a grumpy old man or a loner again. He goes back to his old ways and he gets stabbed and falls off a bridge by his whiny, stupid kid. So basically, whatever Lucas did, you know, the prequels, it was setting up a story, the main story that we already loved, the original trilogy, you know, and it didn't impact those characters in a negative way. But the way I see it, that these new movies have taken those characters and just tarnished their legacies forever. I could never look at Luke Skywalker the same way. I could never look at Han Solo the same way. I think that's the real tragedy, and why I think that this sequel trilogy has done way more damage than Lucas ever did.
Okay, Lewis, let's hear your take.
Well, let me ask you a question, Vito. How did Padme die?
Padme died giving birth.
No, but why did she die? She just gave up on life. That's worse than Luke.
I thought she died because those twins ripped through her.
No, they didn't. She said she gave up on living, man, in episode 3. That's worse than Luke Skywalker. It's the same trend that Lucas had in his writing is being continued now. They're making stuff up as they go. Lucas never intended for, Leia and Luke to be brother and sisters. They were making out. They're probably having sex in deleted scenes. It doesn't make any sense. Originally, Darth Vader was supposed to be a different person. You know, they were tweaking it out as they go. They're making it up as they go. And that's what Kathleen Kennedy is doing with the Disney Star Wars. They're making it up as they go. I do not agree with that, maybe, but I'm just telling you right now, Kathleen Kennedy is continuing the tradition that George Lucas started, giving us, the same kind of stuff, man. I mean, we like a character, don't show it. Darth Maul, we love Darth Maul, right? In the movie, 2 seconds. We love Boba Fett. In the movie, 2 seconds. You know, we hate Jar Jar. Let's give him 75 minutes, 75% of the film. You know, that's just what George. We want the special edition Star Wars, right? On 4K. Where are they? This is what George Lucas does. McClinky or whatever the crap that was with the Greedo shooting first or whatever they're doing now. That was all George Lucas tinkering with it before the sale. And that's George Lucas changing Han Solo. His character development, his character arc was totally changed. Now, I'm not saying that's the right way to do it or not. I'm just telling you, Kathleen Kennedy is continuing the tradition that George started. As a matter of fact, he put her in charge right when the deal was going to go through completely. She is George's pick to run Star Wars. That's the bottom line. We asked for it because this fandom being upset. I'm in a documentary called The People versus George Lucas.
Yeah.
This is 20 years ago. And they want to blame it. It's for kids. Well, do you think kids actually want to hear about a trade dispute for 3 hours? I mean, that's just like, no, kids wanted to buy Darth Maul action figures. You know what I mean? That's why maybe the sales of toys aren't selling that well. Mandalorian will sell well. And I'm going to tell you this. I think Kathleen Kennedy right now gets it. Changing her right now will be starting all over. She's giving us Jedi Fallen Order. She greenlit that. Mandalorian, which was something George wanted to bring in, kind of like, to television. She executed on that. J.J. Abrams, after Star Trek, right? 2009 or whatever. Everyone loved J.J. Abrams. They're like, man, this guy should have been doing Star Wars. What did Kathleen Kennedy do? Hey, J.J., could you direct Star Wars? Like it or not, fans asked for it. So I think she gets it now. Changing it may go back to someone who doesn't get it and learning. It's a learning curve. Lucasfilm doesn't release one movie a year. They wait 16 years minimum. They're not used to this. Now they're getting the hang of it. Just my opinion, but I think it's pretty factual.
What do you think about that, Vito?
Well, I'd love to address this idea that Kathleen Kennedy is just doing what George Lucas always did: make it up as you go along, give the fans what they want. You're saying this isn't necessarily
what they want. Not give the fans what they want.
Well, on the idea that doing it as George did and making it up as you go along, that's not a virtue. That if anything, I think the big problem for me with this sequel trilogy, this Disney trilogy, and why I knock it harder than the prequels is the prequels, Lucas was almost going in blind. When's the last time you had a beloved trilogy and then tried to pick it up again 30 years later? It was an impossible task to try and figure out the best way to do that, and he obviously made some mistakes. But here's the thing, is Disney had the hindsight where they could look at the prequels and go, well, what did go wrong there? What was the problems with these? Maybe it was just kind of making stuff up. Maybe it was not making it feel like Star Wars, or taking these characters that people love, like Darth Vader, and not respecting them, not understanding what it was that people loved about those characters. They had the benefit of all this time to plan and know what not to do, and then they just jumped straight into it and made a lot of the exact same problems. Lucas, he tried to do it all himself. Again, I feel it was like an impossible task, and the fact that
why? Why did George Lucas do it all himself?
You're right. It was a bad idea.
I'm right. All right, guys, bye. I won. Oh, sorry. Listen, the original team, people know this.
But then they let Rian Johnson do it all by himself.
Because Rian Johnson is a George Lucas type director where he made one.
Why would you get a George Lucas type
I don't know. I'm just telling you that
George Lucas is the one who completely almost decimated the thing.
This debate is whether or not Kathleen Kennedy or who wrecked it, right? George started this. George picked Kathy because Kathy is like him.
I want to know. Tell me where each of your people actually officially wrecked it. Let's go back. Louis and Vito, where was the wrecking started? How did it happen with each of your people? So, Louis, do you want to start there?
I'm gonna go ahead that the inception of the wreckage started with the original sin of Star Wars. That's what I call it, is to deal with Fox and George Lucas, where George, he didn't get much of the actual, what's it, movie gross, the entire what the film would get, but he had almost 100% of the toys. So that gave him an incentive. And I don't blame him, man, because he wants to live. He wants to continue in funding his company to make the movies more toy driven, and that's why you got the nonsense characters, Jar Jar Binks. Some people say Ewoks. So that's the original sin. You got the same thing with the prequels. You got actual characters. Watch the prequels as Qui-Gon's talking to Watto. There's a lot of nonsense characters walking in the background, and then they turn to the camera to look real quick. I'm just thinking, okay, Hasbro, make that toy. That's what it is. VFX and merchandising was the original sin that started that.
So you're saying way back in when he
77. It's a deal. It's a deal original, they made.
Yeah.
Kind of like
Okay, so you're saying way back in the beginning he
Yes,
did. Okay.
but it wasn't. But then he had people that would stop him. Gary Kurtz. Gary Kurtz in the original New Hope and Empire Strikes Back. Marcia Lucas, look her up. She won an Academy Award for editing for Star Wars 1977. She's the only person that won an Academy Award for Star Wars. Star Wars was nominated for a lot of stuff. Look her up. She is, they talk about female-led franchises. Marcia Lucas. Why don't people know who Marcia Lucas is? Right? She's the one that basically Lucas would come out with an idea. It was a little off, a little bit too sci-fi. She'd bring the "I love you, I know," or like stuff like that. She'd bring the romance. She'd bring the editing. She'd tighten up the editing. She was a protege of Francis Ford Coppola. So that once Gary Kurtz and the unfortunate divorce happened after Empire Strikes Back, the movies did take a downward spiral, even on fan standard. I like Return of the Jedi, but a lot of fans don't.
All right, Vito. So where is your point where it happened? He's going original sin all the way back to 77. Where do you feel like Kathleen Kennedy ruined it worse?
I feel like Kennedy was put in charge of this project and had a very clear job. You're in charge of the future of Star Wars. So what do? And I think it's very clear. You sit down, you find a story team. If J.J. Abrams is on the story team, fine. But you go, okay, it's going to be a trilogy of movies. It's going to be an epic trilogy. We need to plan this thing out right. We need to know who these characters are, where they're going, what their arcs are, where it's going to end up. When J.J. Abrams comes to you and he goes, look, Rey's going to find Anakin's lightsaber. There's going to be a guy named Snoke. There's these Knights of Ren. There's a thing called the First Order. You go, okay, and then what happens in the second movie? Who are these people? And J.J. Abrams tells you, I don't know, just whoever the second guy is, he'll be in charge of it. That's where you go, stop. No. We're going to plan this thing out. We're going to get a whiteboard. We're going to figure out all three movies. Okay, if we're going to do little side story movies in between those years, yes. And you also just look at the Star Wars universe. They tried to make it like the Marvel universe. They're like, oh, it's Marvel. Nobody cares. You can do anything. They're fantastical worlds. You can just introduce characters at random and have crazy stories to. No, it's a set timeline. There's definitive parts in the story that we already know how they end. We know that the rebels defeat the Empire. So if you try to do a bunch of stories about rebels, we're gonna go, yeah, but I know where this is all going. There's a lack of tension there. It's not like Marvel where you can just reboot everything and have magic gems that change reality or whatever. They tried to immediately apply this Marvel formula and just rush headfirst into it, pump out these movies as quickly as possible. There should have been 3 years between every main installment movie. They should have wrote all the movies at once instead of just being like, I don't know, Rian Johnson, go nuts, do whatever you want. They tried to do it so loose without discipline when they needed to find a team who understood Star Wars, who understood how to put this thing together as a complete package, instead of just, I don't know, it feels like monkeys running the factory. They're just running around doing whatever. I don't know. We're gonna get Colin Trevorrow is gonna direct the third. Never mind. J.J. Abrams is gonna direct that one. We're gonna get Josh Trank, the guy. No, Josh Trank's out. We get rid of. Let's hire Miller and Lord to make Solo. No. We gotta fire him halfway through and replace him with Richie Cunningham or whatever. It's a mess over there. What are they doing? You've been handed how many billions of dollars did they spend on this thing?
Well, that's not us though. I don't care I don't have stock in Lucasfilm, but okay.
If I spend $1 billion on something, I'm not going to go find some redheaded stepchild named Rian Johnson and say, go nuts. It's a madhouse.
All right, well, hold up. I want to get back to you, Lewis, but I want a couple chats came in to help you guys have some pointers.
Yes,
First,
yes.
EJ Moreno said, the original sin, I can't, A+. You're getting a props for that, for calling that out moment. And then Ghost of Bane, regardless, after everything Lucas did, people were still excited for Star Wars, for Force Awakens, Rogue One, and into The Last Jedi. The Last Jedi is when people realized this trilogy was made with no plan and no care for the lore or the fans. And if I'm just reading through a lot of the comments, Last Jedi is clearly where things go wrong. Vito, where do you stand on that? Do you say it was earlier? You're saying sure, Last Jedi, but you're going screw Last Jedi. Let's talk about before. I think you make a good point. When they were whiteboarding the new trilogy, that's when things failed because they didn't actually have a plan for all three. Is that just to verify that's where you're standing, Scott?
Absolutely. Look, Last Jedi. I've said this recently where I'm like, look, it's a fun thought experiment. Can we write a epic trilogy of movies where you just one guy writes one and then he hands it off to the next guy? Like, I don't know, you figure it out. Yeah, if it had worked, we'd be calling you geniuses. But the odds of that working was nil. This was an insane plan from day one. And the fact that they went and they're like, let's get J.J. Abrams, the guy who famously made Lost, a series where
he didn't write Lost.
Well, he found a team, right? He found a team of writers who were like, let's just make stuff up and then we'll figure it out later. This is not how you write a movie. I'm sorry. It's not how you write anything. Introducing plot hooks and interesting concepts. Yes, it's very easy to do and it's very interesting. Oh my God, Anakin's lightsaber. Where did it come from? That's a story for another time. We're never going to find out where it came from because they wrote themselves into a corner. They don't know half of these ideas that they came up with.
Who's Master Sci-Fi?
Ryan Johnson forgot about the Knights of Ren. He's like,
Who's
oh
Master
God,
Sci-Fi?
I forgot the Knights of Ren. Now we got to throw him into the third movie.
Could you explain to me who the heck Master Sci-Fi is and why should we care?
Master Sifo-Dyas?
Yeah.
Who's what movie
exactly?
was that,
it's in the prequel. It's the guy who ordered the clone army. No one could tell me because George threw that in. Let me ask you another question.
Hold the clone army to do what?
When Shmi died, why was there a third tombstone there?
When Saeed died? What movie
when
are you on?
Shmi Skywalker. It's the prequel. You forgot it already.
You mean his his mother.
His mother died. There were 3 tombstones there.
You're right. I had forgotten it, and that's part of the problem.
Yeah, because the movie's forgetful.
Oh, the prequels?
The prequels. It's George Lucas.
Yeah, thank God, because they didn't do so much damage that it sticks in my mind for the rest of my life.
No,
whereas these new ones, I'm like, the sins are so egregious.
No, it's
I don't even remember what Lucas did because whatever, they went by in a blur. These new movies, I got to watch Luke Skywalker force ghosting himself too hard.
You're telling me you're telling me that the prequels to you are like you treating it like an abused victim that forgets about that out of your brain.
I don't know.
Let me
it's like my
chip in
drunken
here.
stepfather who's so boring. Here. I'm like, whatever. He's just off doing his thing.
Oh, so should he continue running? Then didn't you agree with me again? He wrecked it. He's pre Kathleen Kennedy.
I want to bring in. I want to bring in because they're chopping at the bit. I can see them to get in this. That's my new catchphrase.
Yeah, bring them in.
But before I do, I want to focus on the prequels. It's important to sort of go. Clearly, we have time has passed, so the prequels have given us a little bit more time to get over them, right? But when they came out, it was pretty aggressive then, as the Disney trilogy is now, as some people are calling it. So I'm just I need to hear that, Lewis and Adan, as we get there. Why is the prequels more egregious than the sequel trilogy is sort of an important message. But let's bring in the fighters. I want to get Chris and Adan to chime in this fight so we can have a free-for-all. Let's start with, since Adan, you were already trying to interrupt. Go ahead, Adan, get in there.
Sorry about interrupting there. I didn't want to be rude, but you know what?
No, you did.
I'm about to say this. So, Vito, thank you for the first half of your conversation there, for agreeing with all of us on this.
Thank you, Vito.
But the fact of the matter is, George Lucas dropped the ball so many times, so much that he wanted to revise his own, what was considered a great series. He tried to change that up. He tried to change it up by changing like who shot first, by redoing the prequels to like add more to the characters that no one really wanted to see. Like, oh, I hate sand. Sand gets in my everywhere. Gets on this. The infamous the iconic things that people remember of those series are the worst moments of that series. That's what people remember. And I always ask the question when I watched the prequels, why is everything like so clean, so nice, and so like pristine? Now all the Jedis can do backflips and do like gymnastics when like all of a sudden like Darth Vader can't do nothing, no one can do anything. It felt like a whole different series. And then you want to talk about sins. Let's talk about all the different ideas he tried to do before the prequels. You know, like. And I'm sorry, I'm gonna have to throw out the Life Day. I know you love that one, yes. But like that did not hit home for anybody other than Andy over here. And on top of
Jon Favreau, he wants to bring it back. Well, go ahead.
I'll give him credit for that. In Jon Favreau, he might actually really pull it off. But also the Ewok movies. Let's talk about that. People want to forget the Ewok movies, and he did it, and we agree that he did it, and he announced multiple times this was meant for kids. But when you look at the original trilogy, he made it for kids, but he made it not dumbed down. He made it in a way that everybody can appreciate, and he didn't stupefy people. In the prequels, he dumbed it down to the point where it was borderline racist with some of the characters. Like when they the first movie, when they introduced the one character that was like, oh, I'll sell him, and like some people argue that he's supposed to be like a Jewish character, and then Jar Jar, we all know he's supposed to be the one black comic relief, and in regards to that, and everybody always wondered how the hell did Jar Jar survive, and when he's like just that dumb, and then become a senator. There's no consistent in the fact of the matter, how did he become a senator? Because if he's that dumb, then we rightfully deserve to go to the Republic, to the Empire. The people there were literally sitting there, and you see in the movie, they were like, nah, I don't understand how this is happening. But that's how it is. He's just putting it out there for the dollar. He's not, the whole fact of the matter, when he originally released it, yes, he was fine by the seat of his pants, but the prequels, he said, I have more time. This is what I wanted. This is what I wanted to put out there. And he nixed a lot of people having influence on him. He put his own influence on that. And people were pissed. The greatness of the original three were because of the influence of the others. The sadness of the prequels and the sadness of his revisions is because he's like, it's my vision. I can tell everybody to go screw themselves, and this is what I need to do. And I'm going to sell toys, and I'm going to get profit. And that is true. That
original sin.
Yeah, he did let go a lot of his rights, so he can actually have all the toy rights. He tried to get to
and sequel rights. It wasn't just the toy rights; it was the sequel rights too.
Oh, absolutely. But what he did was he went to a lot of toy companies. They said no, and then when it blew up, there was only one toy company that had him, said okay, and then everybody wanted a piece of him. And still to this day, that's his bread and butter.
Well, it's a fascinating episode of The Toys That Made Us on Netflix. Watch the Star Wars episode because it's actually a lot more. He was very instrumental in making sure he not only got a deal, but then didn't make the prequels until he got the licensing back to make a better toy deal, because the original toy deal was ripoff. So noted. He was very about the merchandise and the toys.
Oh, absolutely.
So for the record, but Chris, I want to get your thoughts too. What do you want to add for your teammate here?
Well, for where we still talking about the prequels here, first let me say something. It was the turn of the century. There was a lot of new technology. Let's not forget that George Lucas owns, or did own, or might still own, a technology company that he wanted to play around. That's why we got the redo of the original trilogy.
ILM, Industrial Light and Magic.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly. And so when I look at the prequels, I take it with a grain of salt. I mean, the story was there. It was compelling enough. The acting, the execution was just awful. And you can't necessarily blame George Lucas for that. Can we not forget that the script for the original trilogy was terrible? And
no, it's not terrible.
No. Really?
But I mean, it's campy. It's very campy.
No, it's not.
I mean, Lucas's original script, I'm sure.
Yeah. And so
why do we always have to defend we always have to resort to the original Star Wars sucked somehow. I didn't
Luke
say
didn't train. No. They don't suck. Oh no, I love campiness, and that's why I enjoy.
But they're not
prequels.
terrible scripts.
They're not necessarily super well written.
We're talking about them 40 years later.
No, they're not
and
good
that's
scripts.
why.
Come on.
That-
I like
that-
sand. It's coarse. It's rough. I get it.
No.
Yeah, the script is filled with really bad dialogue and really stiff acting because he didn't know how to direct.
Yes.
I get it.
So,
Go ahead. I get where you're going with
and
that.
I want to then talk about how Kathleen Kennedy, as soon as Disney was sold, 30 years of lore from books, video games was retconned, and how they just took that away from the fans. I mean, I grew up on books by Timothy Zahn. I grew up on video games. Knights of the Old Republic is my favorite game of all time. So the fact that that once Kathleen Kennedy took over, that all disappeared, and then she had the audacity, and don't get me wrong, it was mostly Dave Filoni who was able to do this. He took characters like Grand Admiral Thrawn and put it in a show after they then took all the history previously from him and had erased it. So to me, that's where everything went wrong, was when everything got retconned and everything that we all knew as Star Wars fans, besides the movies, was gone.
So if I may interject, like, since we're talking about retcons, and you may know more about this than me, at what point in any of the other non-canon franchises or legends did they ever mention midichlorians?
Ugh.
Other than George Lucas's prequel.
Could I add to that?
Oh,
Sure.
if you have that
We're
answer,
opening
go
up.
ahead.
Free debate. Go ahead.
Okay, listen. In the novelization of A New Hope, Yoda tells, I forgot who he tells, I think it's Luke, that scientists tried to explain the Force through science, and they could never do it. So is George even reading his own stuff, or is that, I don't know. That's a retcon right there.
I try to forget that part.
Everybody
Well,
tries
he-
to forget a
he
lot of
always
parts in
has
those
the idea.
movies.
Well, and if George had had his way, he was going to go even deeper, and we were going to learn about the midichlorians as like beings or something, weren't we? That was the what Bob
They were
Iger
supposed to be,
revealed.
I think,
yeah.
supposed to be
Hell
sentient
yeah.
and whatnot.
I'm all about that.
No.
No, you're
We
not.
got that
No.
verse, right?
Please.
They're talking about the wills, the wills
yes.
or whatever. The
wills, yes, there you go.
I wanna learn all about the midichlorian people and where they came from. And I would have much preferred that to what we got now, which is the Force awoke. It's awake now. What does that mean? What are
What
you
if she's a
talking about?
midichlorian person,
The
though?
Force is awake. It's awakened.
It's woke.
Oh,
It's
what is,
woke.
yeah,
The Force is woke.
Like, nobody can explain to me the Force awakens.
Well,
The
In
Force
the
Awakens
one
is
now.
about the acknowledgement that
No
people
reason
are
why
realizing that the
third
Force is
movie
not
have
just
any-
about
But here's-
Luke and
again, here's the thing.
Skywalkers.
Here's what's absurd. It's called The Force Awakens. He just titled the movie that. He doesn't know what's going on because they don't have a plan. Nobody knows what it means that the Force has awakened, and they're going to have to figure it out in the third movie and be like, that means that Palpatine is mad. They just admitted they didn't even know Palpatine was going to be in the third movie until J.J. Abrams came back.
Abrams said he did have the Palpatine planned.
Yeah,
He said
that's
that
been
today.
It
confirmed.
wasn't
Yeah.
supposed to track the third one. It was supposed to be
No,
Colin
he's
Trevorrow.
he's
we talking
confirmed
about
that
retconning
he's
there?
confirmed that
You
Emperor
know,
was
with
always
its own
part of his
trilogy?
trilogy.
Just because JJ had this idea in his head that, that actually means Palpatine, he wasn't going to be in charge of the movie. He's
So
planning
you're,
out
Vito.
and expecting other people to just
So
pick
Vito,
up on
you're
it.
telling me that Kathleen Kennedy is following George Lucas's steps, because George Lucas also retconned that Anakin was a great friend of mine before he turned to evil or a pupil or whatever. And what we
They
saw
didn't retcon that. They
in-
were
in the-
buddies. They weren't
yeah, come
like
on.
super
for
cool
2 seconds,
buddies.
oh, I'm gonna miss you, Anakin. Yeah, okay.
In the Clone
whenever I
Wars
fly
TV
out-
show, don't they hang out and hug
That's-
and rub each other's
George
backs
Lucas
or
has been
whatever?
quoted.
Here's the funny thing. I dare say that. I'm sorry to interrupt, but I'm going to say
Go
this.
ahead.
I dare say Kathleen actually supports a lot of non-canon items that George would ignore. When I've been doing a lot of research on the Star Wars franchise, like with the Sith and the Jedis, they have various lightsabers, and like the fact that they would have the kyber crystals to split up. They would have the it wasn't just Sith and Jedi. There are Force users that would be influenced by the Force, but they didn't have to pick a side. And the Knights of Ren were pretty much that. People argue why that there were Sith lords,
Wait. How do you know what the Knights of Ren are?
He's read the.
Listen, you can pick up. You can
How
get
do
the
you know
idea
that?
from watching the
How do
movie.
you know
They said they're
Rey
not
has a
Sith
point?
lords. The Sith lords went by the rule of 2, where there can only be one master and then there's one apprentice, and the apprentice would always take over. Knights of Ren, they'll be influenced by that, but they were not going by the rule of 2. It was trying to make a new order.
Another thing I don't like about the prequels, we should have been shown that, not told that. That's what we want. Hey, the fans.
Shown what? The rule of
Show-
2?
Yes, the fans want to
So-
see the fans. Hold on, give me a second. The fans want to see a bunch of Sith lords fighting Jedi, but instead we got the rule of 2. a lazy way of only showing one Sith.
And
like,
they didn't
for 2
even
seconds.
explain that in the
Huh?
in the prequels. They didn't even touch on explaining on that.
No,
because that would make sense.
Yoda said it in the first film, and that's it. I wanted to see that. Why are there Rule of Two? Maybe it's Old Republic. I don't know, but we didn't know about that stuff back then. That's what I want to see. It's a prequel. For over 1,000 generations, the Jedis were the keepers of peace before the Dark Times, before the Empire. Didn't Obi-Wan make that sound like it took hundreds of years to happen? Instead, it was like a 2-second Clone War, between Episode 2 and Revenge of the Sith. And yeah, you're going to bring up the cartoon. Lucas has been quoted as saying that the only thing that's canon are the films. R2, or what's that, R4, whatever the hell robot, the silly robot, was destroyed in one of the Clone Wars cartoons, and he shows up in Revenge of the Sith. Shit doesn't make sense, man.
All right,
here's my thing real quick. Yeah, go ahead, Andy. Go.
No, go get your response in there. I'm gonna.
Well, I was just gonna say, look, a lot of what Lucas did was a mistake. Oh, and I totally agree with that. The prequels had a lot of problems, but the question is not did Lucas screw up? The question is which of them screwed up harder. My belief is that all of what Lucas did not savagely destroy Star Wars to the point where it was irredeemable. Because obviously it wasn't, because people were so excited for Force Awakens. People were more than willing to forget the prequels. The hype for Force Awakens was beyond whatever. It came out. It got an okay reaction. Then Last Jedi came along and we realized, oh my God, wait. We thought this was all going somewhere. We thought you all had a plan. Kathleen Kennedy said, no, there was never any plan. The only plan was to just randomly find people and tell them, it's a magic universe with laser swords. You can write whatever you want. You can take established characters that people love and just kill them off and give them the most unsatisfying endings possible. Yeah, Boba Fett was
Darth
also...
Maul.
Yeah, you're
Padme
saying that
Amidala, ridiculous deaths.
Yes, again, George Lucas did not always nail everything.
You said Star Wars is irredeemable, right? What about The Mandalorian? What is that? Star Wars.
It's never going to make up for the fact that Luke
trending
Skywalker...
number one for weeks, man.
Yeah, it Stranger Things.
It did beat Stranger Things. I saw the news article.
It's highest stream, but it's just, the best since then. But I guess here's what
I like Shannon. She should be on more longer.
Here's what I want to say. We're so caught up on Last Jedi. It's so clear that's where everything went. I can see it.
It's one movie,
but I agree with Lewis on that. It's one movie, and we don't even know where it's going to go yet. I know that's sort of unfair, but why is that one movie worse than removing the extended universe? And a lot of the things, there's a list of a lot of things here that we're sort of ignoring on Lucas's part. So I need to hear what else is it that Kathleen Kennedy has done beyond just one movie, because Lewis has done and Adan have done a job of sort of listing multiple things, but beyond just sort of the movie ruined where we're going to go and they killed people off. I think Lewis hit you back pretty well. That's sort of the thing they've done throughout Star Wars history, is kill these characters off in a way. So I want to get more specific, because I agree Last Jedi sucks. Let's be clear. I'll put my cards on the table. I am not a fan of Last Jedi. I think you're right. There's no lack of vision. That's where you're winning, Vito. But I want to go to Vito and Chris as sort of what else? Why is just making a bad movie really destroying Star Wars? I want to hear a little bit more specifically.
It's not just The Last Jedi. Again, I also really dislike Force Awakens and just where they are taking the Star Wars universe. Where we had the Empire was defeated. And we understood, okay, they've defeated the Empire. They're going to mop up the remainder. Now we get to see where this is gone, or where this is going. But clearly they said, well, we want to sell toys, and the toys that sell are this eternal World War II struggle between the good guys and the stormtroopers. We have to figure out a way to bring back the stormtroopers. We're going to have this thing called the First Order, which makes no sense whatsoever. They've somehow taken control of the whole galaxy overnight. The Great Republic, which won these great battles. The whole point of the original trilogy, the fight against the Empire. My God, we destroyed the Empire. Good triumphs over evil. This incredible moral victory and just a classic hero's journey is completely undone by the idea that 20 years later, nothing you did matters. Han Solo, they go, oh, I don't know. I thought Luke Skywalker. Isn't that a myth? I've never heard of this guy. This is the most it's taken the fundamental core of Star Wars, which is hope. This idea that there is good in the world, and if you fight for it, that is what matters. And it told you basically, hope is, it's a joke. You know, Luke Skywalker, you're the greatest. You destroyed the Empire. Nobody's heard your name. You're nothing. Han Solo, you worked so hard to become a great character. Whatever, your kid's gonna stab you in the chest and throw you off a bridge. It feels like the central moral theme of the whole thing has just been twisted and distorted to try and make they're like, oh, well, it's more interesting this way. It's more realistic if Luke Skywalker goes from being this hopeful Jedi who believes in everything to a bitter old man who just wants to watch the world burn. It's tragic. It is a tragedy what they have done to this series. And that, to me, is what is irredeemable, is that the core essence of Star Wars is gone. It doesn't feel fun to me. It doesn't inspire me. It just feels dark, depressing, weird, confusing. And even in the prequels, even in George Lucas's prequels, there was still those core themes. There was still even Anakin Skywalker racing his stupid pod racer. You know, it felt great to watch this kid, and you're like, oh, I
hate that scene.
What, with the pod racing?
It's awful, man.
Well, wait, Vito, finish your thought. You were on a roll there. Go ahead. Finish your run.
I hate that scene.
What's your point of bringing that up?
I call pod racing. Look, there was still an emotional core to it. And even when Darth Vader steps forward and goes, no, yeah,
he
stupidest thing in the world.
But do you agree that's dumb?
It's dumb, but
he brought it back to
the core emotional, the core
before
emotional
the
resonance
ledge,
of
the
it.
Emperor didn't even respond.
A man mourning the loss.
It comes from the side.
Of hope.
I jumped the first time I heard
My
that.
hope has been denied to me, and I rage against the dying of the light. There was poetry in that no.
And shocked him. Vader says no twice before throwing the Emperor.
He's lost so much. I would say no 1,000,000 times.
There's been so
there
much
was still. It was an opera. It was operatic. There was drama to it. It wasn't this new age loose whatever floaty storytelling where you go, I want to tell a story about how the real world is. Did you know that the Empire or the First Order, the rich people in the casino sell weapons? Oh, war profiteers. Oh, I don't care about war profiteering.
Like anybody cared about politics?
I'm not defending anyone. I'm just saying Kathleen Kennedy was placed there by George Lucas, and she's continuing George Lucas's lead. She is a trusted person.
She shouldn't do that. Again, Lucas is not the template to follow. I'm not defending Lucas as the god among gods.
I win, Andy. Could you stop this already?
You didn't win because
you just said Lucas is not the template to follow.
Exactly. But the point of this discussion.
Hold on. Let him finish, Lewis.
The point of this discussion is not, is George Lucas the greatest man who ever lived? Because no one would ever argue that. The point is, which is more damaging? Are you more mad at the kid who breaks a toy, or are you mad at the adult who has 20 years of experience coming along, taking the same toy and breaking it again? Okay? Kathleen Kennedy should have learned from Lucas's mistakes, had a perfect template of what needed to be done, and she made the exact same mistakes, and that is a greater sin than making the mistake the first time. The first time's a mistake. The second time is a travesty.
That's a very good point. I got to hear him out, Lewis. He's right. Why didn't Kathleen?
What part?
Why didn't she learn?
Right.
Why didn't she learn though? She should have. She's worked for Spielberg for ages, made great freaking movies. She's been on top of her game. How did she mess this up by making such similar mistakes? He's got a very good point. What's your response to that?
How does she? She's taking George Lucas's lead.
No,
she is placed there.
No. He's out.
What's your question?
He's out. He's been out. He's offered his thing. It's very clear that he gave his ideas and they moved it through
Kennedy has not destroyed Star Wars. Star Wars has 3 good movies. All right, 1 very divisive one. I'm not defending any of them. The first film, The Force Awakens, needed to be a soft reboot because George destroyed everything with the prequels. It was midi-chlorians, lame. Vader saying yippee a lot, lame. There's a lot of lameness. Padme Amidala choosing not to live after she gave birth to 2 kids. That's supposed to be a special time in your life when you're supposed to fight for your life to be with the kids. Instead, she goes, "Oh, I just gave up on death." You know, it just horrible dialogue. The effects do not stand the test of time at all. The Matrix whipped the Phantom Menace in the VFX department during the Oscars. At least Kathleen Kennedy or whoever was there with The Force Awakens goes, hey, we got to soft reboot this thing. It's awful, right? Who does everyone like? J.J. Abrams. Let's get him on board. What did people not like about the prequels? Well, it looks fake as crap. Lucas was writing the script as he was heading towards wherever, ILM or whatever, to film, because he knew all he needed to do was just design the background. The actors looked lost. All right, so they went more to practical effects with The Force Awakens. Also, let's talk about mystery boxes. There's a zillion mystery boxes with George Lucas's movies. All right. With Abrams, the mystery boxes, where did you get the lightsaber? That could have been easily explained. Cloud City. What else?
Wait, was that your explanation? Cloud City?
Well, in my mind, I mean, no, I'm saying that could have been easily explained. Lucas's stuff is just
but it wasn't. Oh, so
well,
Lucas
because Ryan
never
Johnson continued the second movie, just like Irvin Kushner directed the second Star Wars movie. It again, the same.
And J.J. Abrams gave him too many things to follow up on, and Kathleen Kennedy needed to step in and go, JJ, look, I know you want to write a fun movie with a lot of mysteries.
And then people would
can't
be
introduce
Kathleen
12
Kennedy
mysteries if you don't know where any of them are going. Lucas had how many mysteries, really, that he didn't follow up on? I think the only led to hook was Yoda going, there isn't another. But other than that, did anyone?
That's in the
Star
original
Wars?
Trilogy, though.
No,
Right, that's what I'm saying. That's the only one from Lucas where I go, oh, well, if we're talking. I mean, that's still a part of Lucas, though. What else did Lucas leave not tied
and
up?
that was The Empire Strikes Back. Irvin Kushner, Gary Kurtz, Marcia Lucas, the team. Then after everyone, he dissolved the Senate. He went into Lucasfilm and he goes, I'm going to establish the intergalactic empire, whatever. I am now ruler, right? When that happened, there's a lot of yes people, a lot of people scared of losing their job. There's a lot of people that don't know what Star Wars is. There's a lot of people being hired. I mean, we talk about what's the guy that's Dave Filoni, right? He's awesome. Okay, there's a million Dave Filonis. Why is there only one? There's so many Disney Star Wars fans.
You're right. Kathleen Kennedy should have hired more of them.
Well, Lucas doesn't. Lucas started with not hiring them, though.
You lost me there. What do you mean you stopped? Look.
Lucas doesn't hire people who are fans of Star Wars.
He wasn't hiring anybody really at the time. He was selling it and looking to sell it, right? He didn't hire anybody for the prequels, and then he sold it to Disney. So there wasn't really any opportunity to hire anybody.
He hired Kathleen Kennedy.
But no, he hired Filoni, and Filoni was the guy he found and kept it going, right? Because that was really the only thing that was sort of going on at the time.
I don't know. I'm Cuban. I talk a lot. Sorry, Andy.
No. But all right. So look, this is actually really heated, and I actually can see both sides here. Really, you've both made valid arguments, but now you both also made some mistakes. So I want to end this. Both Chris and Adan can help chime in. What's the real core reason here? What's really the moment? And to sum it up, I know, Lewis, you're saying the core moment. Let's not get lost in prequels versus sequels as a movie. Let's talk about even just greater beyond that. What really the essence of Star Wars and who's really wrecked that is what I want you guys to really focus on here. Because I don't want to get in the weeds of the movie and this and da-da-da-da. Because we're going to do prequels versus sequels when they all come out, and I cannot wait for that fight. And we'll do it officially, so stay tuned. But in the meanwhile, what is it about the essence now currently in the state of Star Wars that's not, as bad as what's or worse than what Lucas did with sort of the things that he did throughout? That's what I want to hear. So whoever wants to start can start, and
I'll start.
Okay, go ahead.
First of all, I want to just clear one thing up. I don't think Star Wars is wrecked. I think nothing could wreck Star Wars. It's the best story, the best thing ever made.
Well, I want to clarify that. I agree. Star Wars is never going to die, but it's in a state of turmoil right now. The fans are divided. It's not even Bob Iger, the head of Disney, has admitted they need to pause and reevaluate. Kathleen Kennedy has admitted this. There have been, mistakes that have turned Star Wars into the less profitable, no-brainer franchise that everyone sort of expected it to be. So it's in a bad spot. Let's just cause that. But there's clearly places it's going to go, and it can't die. Star Wars is too big of a brand. But right now, I think we can all agree, yes. Can we all agree it's in a state that's not as popular as it should have or could have been? Yes?
Yeah.
Okay, good. So continue.
Okay, so if you are one of those people that feel that Star Wars is wrecked, and we're trying to debate that here, the lead is by George Lucas putting Kathleen Kennedy in charge. If you are of the opinion that it's wrecked, George Lucas started the ball rolling. It's George Lucas who placed her there. It's George Lucas who started the same trend that people are complaining about. Politics in Star Wars were in the prequels. You're either with me or you're with. Only a Sith speaks in absolutes. That's a George Bush speech. He implemented politics into his film. I don't know why people forgot, but he did. He had the guns, the politically correctness, right? He had the guns fighting these dumb robots, fighting. They didn't even use real weapons. They used blue balls. So it was a big blue ball fight in the Phantom Menace. And that was because, you couldn't hurt creatures. And that echoes the Greedo shooting first scene, whatever, because you had to be politically correct. My argument is this, if you have a problem with current day Star Wars, it has a lot to do with George Lucas, unfortunately. And I love the guy. Thank you for creating these films. But somewhere the team dismantled the original team and it got messed up. That's what I'm saying right now.
Okay, Vito?
I think the core issue is that Kathleen Kennedy came in basically as an agent of Disney and said, we need to do what we're doing with Marvel. We've got to pump these things out at an accelerated pace. There's no time for planning. There's no time for proper story development. We're just going to hire the big name directors because the fans are idiots. If we put lightsabers and spaceships and lasers and whatever else in there, they're going to be fine. We can just play this by ear. They needed to look again because Lucas did have missteps, and they needed to look at those missteps and say, what went wrong? What were the problems? What were storyline moments that people did not agree with? I think a classic example is a character like Boba Fett. You have a fantastic character, so much hype around this character, one of the coolest looking characters in Star Wars, kill them off unceremoniously, make them a joke, drop them in a pit. Then they have, in the new movies, Captain Phasma. And I honestly looked at Captain Phasma when they were revealed, and I said, okay, I get it. This is the new Boba Fett. But this time they've learned from Lucas's mistakes, and they're not going to have her be a pitiful loser. In 2 seconds, you got into the new movie, and you drop her in a trash compactor. She's a joke. She's nothing. How do you not take the lessons from Lucas? Again, my core point is that she had the knowledge of what went wrong. She had so much information on how to do this right. And they treated it, her and Disney, like just another Marvel. Oh, these are just fun, colorful, costumed heroes. It doesn't really matter as long as it's big, dumb, loud popcorn entertainment. They didn't understand the legacy. They didn't find people who truly loved Star Wars. They just went and found little fun indie directors like Rian Johnson and said, do what you want. It's for the fans don't really care. They're not that smart. Just, as long as Luke Skywalker wins the day, that's all that matters. This whole thing has been mismanaged from so many different angles. It's a nightmare. I don't understand how you go into this without a solid plan that you implement. It's a nightmare. Anything George Lucas did, he was one stupid old man. This is a team of highly paid professionals led by a legendary Hollywood producer. It's insane what she has managed to do here.
All right.
So Lucas
Chris,
was an idiot.
Hold on, Lewis. Chris.
Lucas was an idiot, and Kathleen Kennedy is
I have a
queen
question
of
for
the
Hold on.
idiots.
I want to make sure Chris and Adan, do you have your final thoughts? And then go ahead,
Okay.
Chad. But Chris, did you have anything to add? I just want to make sure you were heard. Chris, anything you want to add here?
Yeah. So, Andy, I think you used the perfect word, brand. That's what Star Wars is. Let's not forget that George Lucas, again, just like Vito said, was one man who was marketing and making the movies, while Kathleen Kennedy, her sole job is to make sure that the brand is marketed properly and that the people are in the right place so that the brand is recognized well. And Kathleen Kennedy has not done that, from all the issues with reshoots with Solo to getting Rian Johnson to come in and not having consistency with the new trilogy to the EA exclusive deal, and giving EA, the evil empire of video games, the exclusive rights to that brand. So to me, that's where it all went wrong, is Kathleen Kennedy not managing the brand properly, and it's not about the movies. It's more about managing the brand.
Okay.
And who you trust with that brand, and she trusted morons.
Yep.
Okay, Adan, any final thoughts for you as well?
Yeah. So Vito, you made a statement about like if you have a toy and you're gonna hate on the person that's gonna come in and break your toy in regards to it. Now I collect toys. I have a collection, and it is arguably just under what Andy has, but in different categories. But I'm gonna be more upset at the person who breaks my classics than the person who breaks my brand new toy, because I can just go out and get another one. And that's what they're planning on doing. They're going to make another one, and it's going to be fresher. George Lucas has wrecked a lot of my classics. He has revised them. He changed them around, put in new things that changed the characters' origins and changed their foundations. He has said it himself that if it's not the movies, it's not canon. So him himself, other than having the right to say that this is nixed, was also saying that's not counting. All those legends, all those novels, and all those stuff he didn't care about in regards to it. So he was doing the same thing. And when we talk about who wrecked Star Wars, I'm thinking who did the most damage in the most amount of time. He did. And you want to talk about Kathleen, he brought her in. He's the catalyst for all of this. He rooted this out, and this is his baby. That he just decided, you know what, I'm going to undo the things that I did. He didn't cherish it the way that we want. When you say all the stuff about The Last Jedi, here's what I say. When Force Awakens came out, people were excited for Force Awakens because they saw it as the new hope. They saw it as the redemption to what was the prequels. And that's why people were hyped for that. People wanted to see something great. And there was some diversity on it, but people still enjoyed it, and people liked it. And the biggest complaint was that people were saying it's like the original. So when we want to make something different, we go with something different in the sequel. It's a learning process with it, but we're gonna get something great afterwards. This is
A
not
learning
something.
process.
No, and this goes for all sequels. There are always going to be adjustments and learning.
Finding a footing.
Time. Ding, 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 ding. Guys, you went for an hour. That was like, it was very. Sorry, my mic's
What?
up. Ding, ding, ding. Time. You guys went for an hour. That was crazy, but I let it go because I was actually very intrigued. It's a hearty debate, and I appreciate you guys all bringing it. Shannon, before I make my verdict, any quick thoughts, quickly? Anything you want to add, sort of your takeaway that stood by you?
Any facts?
Facts. Well, I did look up the Marsha Lucas information, so I thought that was pretty interesting. That
is true.
She had a big say in Obi Kenobi's death because originally he was supposed to survive, and she a lot of the key points that we remember come from her, and I got that off Wiki while you guys were talking. There was some good points. Well, let's start with Alpha. Make it like Marvel. I will agree. Solo was not.
Oh yes, it was very much like that.
Solo was not great.
Really? Well, they all weren't great. I mean, I think you're that point is where I wanted to go too, because it's like, I think that's where I'm leading of just like, look, just because we're for sake of time, I want to go quicker, but it was sort of that idea overall. I'm glad you pointed, because it's like, what was the plan? What was the plan? It's like, as much as we want to bash on Lucas, which I think is valid and fair to bash on Lucas because he made a lot of weird choices and he did mess up a lot. It's still hard to just like completely write him off because it's his stuff and everything else. But there was no plan. And I think that plan is really where the divisive fans have really come from, by sort of tarnishing that these characters we don't know where we're going. Now, to be fair, that's today, right? Things could change in a couple weeks when we watch the new movie. I think it's unlikely, but let's be optimistic. Things could change. We could suddenly like, oh my God, they completely justified all these things that we hated. It's unlikely, but let's try to be positive. But I think, sadly, I mean,
that brings up a point with Bravo too, because Bravo, things could change. It brought up, it's more than just the movies. Mandalorian is the #1 streaming series right now, and it's redeemed a lot of the story points of Star Wars, showing that Kathy may be in charge of Lucasfilms overall, but she has over 2,000 employees at Lucasfilms with different takes on what to do and different directions. And I've seen those 3 episodes of The Mandalorian.
They're great.
They're fantastic. And it's good to see Star Wars expand, because it's more than just the movies. It's Star Wars, the brand, as Alpha brought up. And the brand seems to be in good hands, at least with this
Well,
TV
no,
series.
I disagree there. The brand's not in good hand. I mean, yes, that show is good, but we don't know how much Kathleen Kennedy's really involved in that. I guess is where the reality
She's the
is.
president of Lucasfilm, though.
Yeah, but I don't know. Again,
Feels
and I don't want to get
like
into the weeds of this because
Jon
you guys didn't
Favreau.
argue this, but it's like Bob
Dave
Iger is the
Filoni's
one
episode
who's
was the
Bob
weakest
Iger
one.
is overseeing Disney Plus. He's
But
been very
he's
clear on
consulting.
how big and how much he's involved. And Filoni's been there forever, and it feels like, in my take, Disney Plus sort of like, yeah, let those guys just do something. And they weren't really paying attention to it. So I think it's unfair to give Kathleen Kennedy all the props for that. I think now she's like, oh yeah, that thing I wasn't paying attention to, let's do more of that. Is how it does feel, to be perfectly honest, as someone who's worked sort of at a much lower tier, but as a VP in a company like that, it does feel like she's been in task with these movies, and I think you did a good job of, like, they haven't brought in the right people. She doesn't know how to lead it. I think overall, while the biggest thing to me that also really stuck away was she really did just ruin the extended universe. That was a huge thing that they were just like, you know what? It's gone. It's gone, and that's really another thing that I think really divided fans. Like, why? Why did you need to do that? So I think that, the Marvelizing, the lack of a plan, and now them clearly trying to catch up to sort of solve their movies, and now movies are, who knows? Kathleen Kennedy's admitted, I don't know where the movies are going to go, is a very odd spot to be in as a franchise
They
when
should
you're with
have the
Star
next
Wars.
50 years planned out.
Yes,
for
and I
the-
think
oh,
something you
God.
said, Vito, did stick with me of just like, how do you not write all these movies, or at least whiteboard them all out and say, Ryan Johnson, this is what you're making. You can't just go make your own thing and like completely go off on a tangent. The fact that they were Marvelizing the movies, I do think, is what happened, and that happened on Kathleen Kennedy's watch. Whether that was somebody else's, directive or not, it's hard to ignore that really is where the problem is. And look, I do think it's unfair. I'll say it on the record in my full shot. I think we're being harsh on Kathleen Kennedy. We don't actually know what's happening. We don't know what Iger or Horn or all these other people are making her do, or what her sort of tasks are as an employee, because she doesn't get all the say. She's in charge of it, but there can be sometimes people above her who are making her do a lot of these things. So the reality is, I don't want to just be mean to her and say it's her fault, but because technically it's Star Wars is her brand, that is her fault, right? So we have to sort of put it somewhere, and right now it's the title of Star Wars. It's sadly her fault. So all that said, I think I got to go with Team Alpha for the point. Alpha gets that first point.
That's right.
Very, very good
That's
fight.
right.
But I want to give you a chance, Bravo, to still get this, okay? The game's not over, so everyone watching...
Wait, Lewis, can I get a Darth Vader? No.
My favorite part was
good.
when you two were screaming
it.
at each other.
Yeah, I have that take, too.
They were. I almost wanted to put music
Just
behind
like,
it because
both
it was. just
Neither of them
weird.
would back down.
Yeah, that was.
All right. Since we're late, so if those that don't know, for those of you that haven't seen already, there's a new button down below called Join. I'd be really grateful if you join the channel. It helps pay for all of this, keeps us going. And if you join, Nerd Wars will keep going. And we do an after stream for members only. So at any level, if you click on join and become a member of Popcorn Planet here on YouTube, it's like Patreon, but it's new. It's a new feature. If you haven't heard yet, go check it out. You can click join. It's right next to the subscribe button. The link's also in the description. But you can stick with us afterwards. We're going to do a longer fight, have some more fun games and things that we do to keep this conversation going, because I have a feeling everyone has a little bit more to say on this. But I want to quickly give them a chance to do one more bonus game. I am pulling out the which movie would you keep, which the other one gets snapped out of existence. Okay, guys? I have pulled 2 movies. You have to do it. The winner gets to pick first. And so, Vito, heads or tails?
Tails.
It is tails. So you get to pick the movie. Okay?
All right.
And your 2 choices are E.T. and the Jurassic Park trilogy. Which one do you keep and which one do you snap out of existence?
I'm gonna get rid of E.T.
Ooh, all right, Lewis. That means Adan, you're with Jurassic. You're holding Jurassic Park because you and Lewis will be fighting for Jurassic Park. Or sorry, I did that wrong. You're fighting for ET, and Vito is fighting for Jurassic Park. Okay. Thank you so much. All right, so I did this on purpose because both movies are made by Kathleen Kennedy. How ironic.
So,
Uh-oh.
does that
Now you
mean
have to
any of
defend
them
her.
get to phone home or phone
Maybe.
in for a fighter for
Phone-
help?
Oh, I got
Fun
to, and actually, I got to thank 2. I can't read this font. What is that? Bunda. Oh yes, Bunda. Thank you, Ricardo and Joe Frisco. Both joined as members to the show. Thank you so much for joining the team. You guys will be able to join the after show tonight. It's called War
alive.
Stories. Keep them coming. Anybody who joins as a member, you'll get to join the stream. It's in the community tab of the channel. Go over to the channel next to videos and uploads. There's a community tab, and I've already unlisted where the stream will be right after the show. So thank you for members. Anybody else who joins us, much appreciated. All right, so getting to this fight. Vito, you picked first. You get to go first. We're going to keep this tight. Why would you get rid of E.T. over the Jurassic Park trilogy? Go.
Well, the Jurassic Park, I mean, the trilogy, let's be real. We're talking about the core movie here. The second and third, they're salvageable movies. But that first Jurassic Park is a true classic. The movie that showed us what CG is capable of and ushered in, frankly, the current wave of movies that we all enjoy. These Marvel movies with their incredible computer graphics would not be possible without Spielberg laying out the future of CG in Jurassic Park. And it's also just a real adventure movie. It has actual intrigue, and you actually worry for the characters when these horrible dinosaurs are coming for them. E.T., it's a goof around kids movie. Who cares about a little alien friend who's gonna come? He's magic. He heals you. He makes your bike fly. Well, this is a movie for babies. Who cares? And they've even babified the movie further by taking out the guns from the FBI agents. Now they're all walkie-talkies. I mean, if this was a real movie, they should have shot those kids out of the sky. I mean, this is an alien. He's a valuable asset. Doesn't make any sense.
All right, Lewis,
Get
time.
back in the lab.
Lewis, your turn. Go ahead. And
It's
then
funny you bring up that guns scene because
All right.
unlike George Lucas, Steven Spielberg actually gives us a choice between the original theatrical cut and the special edition. And you don't like the guns, so you could always go back. The changing of the guns, you could always go back and watch the original.
My VHS copy of Star Wars never changes. So.
Anyways, I'll take CG. I'll take practical effects over CGI any day. I don't care. The movie's a masterpiece. I like Jurassic Park, but I feel like E.T. is a masterpiece. The music's incredible. The way it's shot, where you don't really see the adults till like the end. It's all through the perspective of the children and stuff. It's a film that's gonna make you cry unless you don't have a heart. It's just wonderful. And Steven Spielberg himself, who directed both films, has said he would never ever make a sequel because he can't make anything better than that. And unlike Jurassic Park kept going and just like part 2, oh my god. But anyways, I pick E.T. is a cinematic achievement, and John Williams' score, it's fantastic.
I mean, they're both pretty great scores, let's be honest.
Yes, that is true.
And I got to thank Sarah Johnson for joining. Thank you for becoming a member, Sarah. All right, real quick, I'm going to give you guys 60 seconds. And everybody just, I guess, has to talk over each other. Be quickly. Adan. I'm going to give Adan and Chris. Go ahead quickly before I give you the full 60. Go ahead,
Okay.
Adan.
All right, so real quick, this is, as my teammate has said, like an epic film. It's gonna make you cry, gonna go through the emotional roller coaster. And at most, you may laugh at Jurassic Park, and you'll get a little couple action scenes. You get a full gambit here, and this is what it is. It's a solid film. And then if you want to talk about a series, and we're talking about other items, if you nix this, you're going to also nix what George Lucas tried to include in the prequels. The whole thing, you just fought for it in the last battle. This is the fact that E.T. is canon in the Star Wars universe. He is part of an expanded character universe that we all enjoy and love. Jurassic Park, we got, Chris Pratt coming in afterwards. No one really cares about his character too much. Maybe they care more about the dinosaur Blue that only gets on there a little bit on the side. Your original trilogy does not hold up as well as that. You got one movie, and then you got like the side movies that everybody
we're
forgets.
just talking the first one versus E.T. Chris, go ahead. Everybody knows that. Chris.
So, for me, with Jurassic Park, that was the first time that I ever had a jump scare in a movie in the movie theater. So it was more than just an action movie. It was a compelling movie that scared me as a kid, that intrigued me. I saw dinosaurs in real life. E.T., what I remember, Reese's Pieces, Phone Home, and a flying bike. So
wow.
I mean, Jurassic Park gave me the mystery of seeing not the mama on TV. So
Jurassic Park did not bring that.
That's a different
Land
dinosaur.
Before Time. In real life. In modern times, and then forget about the new ones with Chris Pratt. I mean, they copied the old ones. Lost World is the same thing as Jurassic World 1 and 2. So, yeah, that's all I got.
All right, 60 seconds on the clock.
not
Last
an-
fight for this
okay.
bonus. And Lewis, you need this point for the game to continue. So I need to hear. Go ahead and time now. Go.
Bottom line, Jurassic Park is an incomplete film. They leave an island full of goddamn dinosaurs, and you're thinking, okay, the T-Rexes showed up.
Well,
Here we
that's why
go.
there
Here
were
the
3
movie
of them,
starts,
though.
and it
So,
doesn't.
Vito, you even
it ends
said
right there.
you
It
wanted
needs
something more
other
realistic.
Films. E.T. is complete, and punch.
Oh, you want to talk about other films with E.T.? Have you heard about the sequel? I can't even remember what it's called right now. They were trying to do. It was supposed to be some horror movie that
Who's
was.
they?
So you're talking about a fictitious movie that didn't exist. We're talking about movies that
yeah.
do exist right now.
You got us there.
Look, I get that you guys love your extended Reese's Pieces commercial, but I like a little something more out of my cinema.
Well, obviously, George
Okay.
Lucas likes them too because he put them in the prequels.
I don't remember watching a bunch. I didn't
don't
remember
even remember the
Starburst coming out
prequels
of the
and you just
Millennium
saw them.
Falcon. All right,
You
look.
remember George Lucas's
Keep
stuff.
it on the topic, Lewis.
Let's
It
just
is on
be
ET.
upfront about it. Jurassic Park. Vito, you wanted something more realistic when you
Jurassic
argued about
Park
ET.
is not some
Jurassic Park
candy
was
company
not
that
realistic
doesn't
at
dig
all.
its hands
They
into
even made the
dinosaur
argument
poop
in the
and pull out a
movie.
Mars bar,
People
all right?
died,
We're
and
way
you're
off
still
those
going
things.
through with this, and you're going through
Chaos
lawsuits.
theory.
It's like it's okay,
Jurassic
it's
Park,
okay.
come
This is
on.
gonna happen.
Incomplete movie, Jurassic Park.
Stop.
is-
What the hell? Incomplete movie. That was your argument for E.T.?
What happened to the
Is that
dinosaurs?
Jurassic Park is an incomplete movie?
What happened to the
First of all,
dinosaurs?
it's the
There's
freaking
an
trilogy
island
for
full of
one,
dinosaurs.
so it
It's a
keeps
trilogy.
going.
Oh,
It's a
you want-
trilogy.
Oh, wait a minute. Andy, you have selective rules here. You said only talk about Jurassic
Well,
Park.
no, I'm
Not
saying
doesn't matter
but-
what happened to
no.
the dinosaurs. They went on the
I
island.
said the
I'm
other two
calling
aren't
out
don't
Andy's
matter
score right
because
now for a
The point
nerd
was that
fight.
you said
I'm
that.
calling-
What happened to the dinosaurs? We know what happened to
yeah,
dinosaurs.
and
'cause
my
they gave
point
us
is
more
it's
movies.
it's no one
Whether or not
cares.
we're gonna argue.
Hold on,
Okay.
everyone,
Like
shut
What
up.
happens to ET when he goes back to his planet? Does he say hi to all his friends?
He
Movie
First
went
of all-
I tell you every single thing
Okay,
that happens.
I can shut them off with my mic. There you go. There we go. They can't hear themselves. I forgot I could do that. That makes things a lot easier. If I said, Lewis, that this doesn't matter because the other two aren't as good. But the first one's clearly the battle that we're fighting. We're not fighting for Jurassic Park 3.
Well, let's go pound for
I'm
pound.
saying
Do you
we're
act-
saying Jurassic Park versus E.T. is what clearly the battle was. And for you to make the argument that Jurassic Park is unfinished, that's the best thing you could give me over E.T.? I mean, you might be right. I don't know. I think it ends fine.
Let's
It's a
go
good...
blow by blow. Cinematography, ET wins because it doesn't show you the perspective of the kids. That's what it is.
I mean, there's some pretty damn good
The soundtrack
cinematography in
ET
Jurassic
is
Park,
way
too.
better.
They did.
Cinematography in Jurassic Park was
The
amazing.
That Jurassic
score is
Park
pretty
score-
pretty
The
good.
sco-
My argument
The
would
score-
What are your
awesome.
what are your votes in the comments? If the comments pick Team Bravo, I might overrule it, but I'm going to go with Team Alpha tentatively right now. But please put your last votes, Bravo or Alpha, in the comments below. You can also use the A or the B in the special Nerd Wars icons, but don't spam them because YouTube will sometimes block you. All right, I'm putting up the comments. All
And he
right.
says Spielberg wouldn't make an ET sequel, but he let him make that stupid ride where you go to ET's home
But
planet.
Yes.
they've never
and
rebooted
all
it.
the
either.
aliens
Yeah.
it's the
Films-
stupidest thing in
Yeah,
the
no,
world.
never needed
Films
to.
like
That ride
It
still runs.
and Stranger Things imitate ET. That's how much of an impact that film had.
No. Stranger Things imitates the 80s.
Yeah, it imitates everything.
ET.
But all right,
Yeah,
so
no,
the
the
reason
80s, pop culture of the 80s.
the reason
Yeah,
I was picking,
it's-
I think you just got lost in the weeds there, Lewis, because you were just literally your last thing. You didn't mention the cinematography when the time was still there. You didn't mention a lot of the things you should have mentioned because that movie is a freaking classic and there's a lot to
You
it.
just gave Vito the victory earlier. He doesn't even remember the prequels.
I don't want
That has nothing to do with this
He doesn't
fight.
know what- but I'm just saying.
There's nothing to
you
do with this
said
fight. You had
earlier.
spended your time talking about the prequels again. I was like, focus on the movie.
You
This
had
is
me
the
losing
better
a debate
movie.
with a guy
This
who
is
got
the
one.
better movie, and you lost.
Cases, he doesn't know left from right.
It's the better
What's
movie.
that
You guys got
fancy
so
down,
lost in the
man?
weeds, you didn't
My
even know
God.
it. Well, there you go. Lewis, please come back. You did a great
I
job.
will, I will.
But Vito,
I'm
you
curious
got your
to see
first
the-
Nerd War. Congratulations, Chris and Vito. Good team Alpha. You guys got this. That was a lot of fun. That is tough for me. I like this movie even more because I was a little older, but E.T.'s the better film. I don't know how you lost that. That was crazy.
Because E.T. they never had to remake it.
No, they didn't.
Jurassic Park has been remade.
Yeah, you could have gone there. Yeah,
And E.T. has never been touched. It started
except for that ride.
It started Drew Barrymore's
Right, is so
career.
bad.
I mean, I remember her in the pigtails. That icon. I mean, if we think about
Gertie.
about iconic scenes, right? The biggest iconic scene in Jurassic Park is the reveal of the T-Rex.
Yes.
It is iconic.
Yeah.
Cinematography, everything about it, yeah.
And it's fantastic, but E.T. has a bigger moment. It's when the bike goes over
Yes,
the...
it's right there in the poster.
When the bike goes over the moon.
It's amazing.
I guarantee you, there is more
Shoot
TV.
that kid out of the sky.
It's like, for me, the drunk
alien
ET.
for-
They
Yeah,
did that in
doesn't make
Bumblebee.
any
There's
sense.
more TV,
Take
more
the
spoofs,
shot.
more images
Well,
to go
keep-
over that iconic image.
It's true.
Than,
This
than
is a pretty
dinosaur.
iconic image too, though. Welcome to Jurassic Park.
Yeah.
That is pretty. They're
Yeah,
great
but
logos.
if we're arguing between
Good
which
circular
is more,
logos. I mean, two of the best in town. All right, well, we'll continue this conversation. We're going to talk for a bit on the after show, War Stories, where we'll share our war stories. But before I want to wrap up this stream, for those of you that became members, go join. I put the link in the comments. You guys can join us. Thank you so much for those who did, and for those who did last week. Become a member and become part of the show. You get to pick the Nerd Wars. You get to pick guests, a lot more stuff, and stay tuned to hear us keep nerd talking. So become a member, and then go click the community tab on the channel, and you'll be able to join this next stream. But before I go there, I want to thank you guys for watching home, and I want to thank my fighters. First, I got to thank Vito. You won. You get to plug first. What would you like to send people to? YouTube.com/Vito, yes?
YouTube.com/Vito. Check out some hilarious commentary on culture from me and a couple fun comedy videos on there. I did vape Belle Delphine's bathwater. I don't know if anybody wants to watch that.
Do you have any other
And,
vaping of any other liquids you'll be vaping soon that we can look forward to?
please no.
I'm actually not. I think after that experience, I've given up on vaping. I think I was instrumental in the government passing all their new anti-vaping legislation. They took one look at me. They're like, "This should not be legal."
Well, thank you. You're going to come back, I hope, and I'm gathering all the winners here for a round of champions. So now you're on the hook,
Nice.
Vito. I hope you'll come back. I hope you had fun.
Lewis, excellent debate. I think you had some
Nice
good
meeting you, man.
points. I think the deck was stacked against you with this new Star Wars hate, but it was a valiant fight.
We will do it again.
I
with
appreciate you putting in
No
the
problem, man. It was fun.
Lewis. People can find you at youtube.com/nerdreport. Yes.
Yes, please go and watch my channel, and I talk about a variety of stuff. I like Karate Kid, I like Star Wars, I like reviewing films, I like talking about Andy, whatever you want, I'll do it.
Yeah. No, Lewis, you were great. You come back and you'll be back. Don't worry. I'll get you
Thanks,
on
man.
there. And then thank you, Shannon, for joining me. That was so nice to have you here today.
Yeah,
we'll
it's
talk.
good to be
Get
back.
more of your opinions on the live stream. Anything you want to say or plug?
I don't really have much of a presence besides my Twitter, but just continue following Popcorn Planet. Follow Andy on Twitter. Follow Adan. You can
Yes.
suggest any type of questions that you have.
Send them over. #NerdWars.
Yeah, #Nerd Wars. Just any type of feedback, because at the end of the day, we're all nerds, and we all have topics and opinions, and we want to hear them. So
We do. So keep them over. And I want to thank Adan. Adan, you can check out Nerd Tots, one word on YouTube, as
One
always.
word, Nerd Tots.
Yeah.
Get some D&D. We'll
I
have some
was
fun
in
stuff.
DM for a little bit.
Yeah, I'm gonna do a play where we'll do
were.
it together. Maybe we'll do a
Yeah.
live stream. And then I gotta thank Chris Walker. Chris, I hope it's hard under those lights in your first battle. I'll have to give you another shot. But how'd you
Yeah.
feel as a fan doing it? What was your review there?
Oh, that was a lot of fun, because once you just start talking, you just go and go and go, and the fact that sometimes you don't have to stop, it's amazing.
Yeah, it's nice to have a
Excellent
long form
backup, my
debate.
friend. You were instrumental in my victory.
Oh no, yeah, that was a great teammate.
Yeah.
God bless.
Don, you know we won.
Yeah, no. Deep down,
all right.
we really
All
did
right.
win.
I scrolled back afterwards. The comments did not say that.
They
sadly.
agreed with us. They agreed with us the whole time about George.
Yeah, they were. I didn't want it to taint me, and I checked after, and yeah, they were definitely on the Team Alpha side. But
There's Alpha
there were
love.
some bravos. But anyway, let's
Vito.
continue. I want to hear more of their thoughts. I want to
Kathy.
continue this talk, and I want to have some other cool questions. So we'll be right back on a live stream on War Stories. So come join us. Make sure to click that join member. Whoever's going to can stick around will for a few more minutes, and then we'll talk from Don, Shannon, and I got some other fun games. And I got a game we didn't play today that I want to test for next week, potentially. So come on back. Thank you so much for watching. Community tab for members only, and you can watch it anytime, not now or later. But thank you, everybody, so much for watching. I really appreciate it. We'll be back with more videos soon, so have an awesome weekend and holiday. Thanksgiving. We'll have a pre-taped episode most likely this Thanksgiving, unless some reason I can make it out. But something will be there Thursday. But thank you so much for sticking with it this week. We'll be back. Have an awesome one. Bye!
Bye, everybody.
Bye.